Hello, everyone. Welcome to the New Direction East Asia 2021. I really hope that you guys are enjoying our conference this year so far, and welcome to our Spotlight on India today. The session today is entitled The British Council and the NHS Nurses IELTS Training Course, delivered to us by Ms. Pubani Das. Currently, she's also working for British Council as well. And as you may know, she's the academic manager for the corporate training team for British Council in India, managing 30 teachers in general. So she has spent lots of time to preparing the information and our presentation today. I hope you guys will enjoy it. Also, at any time, if you have any question, please let us know in the chat box and we will reply to you after the presentation. Thank you. And for now, I will hand over to our presenter. You can start now.
Thank you so much, Huyen. Huyen, can you let me know if you can see my screen all right?
I can see yours.
Wonderful. Okay. So hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Pubani Das, and I work as an academic manager for British Council India. In my short session today, I will talk to you about the NHS Nurses IELTS Training Program, a project designed and delivered collaboratively by British Council India English and Examinations team and the British Council's Global Assessments Unit. But before we get into the details of that, I would really like us to identify an ideal learning and development design and its characteristics. And I believe that we would all agree that everyone across industries wants similar things. We want flexibility, we want personalization, we want a solution that's both scalable and economical. Now, I'll tell you a little bit of a story. In 2019, the British Council was approached by the UK's National Health Services to provide an IELTS preparation program for nurses who wish to work in the UK. This engagement spanned delivery of the course to 7 cohorts of nurse candidates and had 7 independent components all sewn together to create one seamless, intensive, fully online, complex program that encouraged lots of collaborative learning and ultimately proved to be highly motivating for all the learners. The findings covered in my talk are based on my experiences of managing this project, and some of the main talking points are as follows. Firstly, a case study highlighting how the British Council English team in India worked seamlessly with our Global Assessments Unit to ensure that the right expertise was available to support the professional delivery of this bold and optimistic project for a client that was high value and high impact. Next, we look at how formative and summative assessment, curriculum, delivery, and standards were all aligned in the course design and how this was a purposeful implementation of Barry O'Sullivan's comprehensive learning system. We'll then look at the cross-referencing of all feedback, teaching material, and assessments to the IELTS scoring criteria at appropriate levels, and how that meant that we could be confident that the course delivery was appropriate to the learner's goals. And finally, the appropriate use of British Council assessment products like the English Score Test, which is a low-cost filtering device, the Aptus Advanced test for decision-making before any kind of significant investments were made, and finally, IELTS for access to international opportunities. This NNIT project is a proof of concept and also an example of regional and global British Council teams working together in lockstep across various business units to ensure that the delivery of an ambitious high-stakes project was done smoothly and successfully. Now, while the global assessment team, with their ample expertise in assessment, development, and delivery, helped us identify the customized assessment solutions to the very specific course outcomes expected by the client, the British Council English and Exams team in India ensured that the planning and delivery of the project overall was done really well. Now, as we know, educational reform and initiatives about English language for trainers, the workforce, for learners, have been taking place at national, regional, or institutional levels, all with the goal to improve English language proficiency, to improve academic, professional, and ultimately social opportunities. However, there are many examples of such initiatives failing to meet their goals or only registering partial success. Now, of course, there can be many reasons for failure to reach goals. However, through our work and experience with schools, corporations, and universities, and some other institutions, we have seen that there's a similarity or a commonality in all projects that have failed to meet their expected outcomes. And one main reason for failure is the failure to align elements in the education or learning system. So what do I mean by alignment here? So if you look at the triangle, you'll see curriculum, assessment, and delivery. And in the middle of the triangle, we have standards. And on this project, the standards were the IELTS Band 7 descriptors. So basically, alignment between educational goals and outcomes, intended and implemented curricula, delivery of that curricula, and assessment of student progress and achievement is considered a characteristic of effective education. And there is an expectation that better alignment leads to better learner performance. Now, although this concept is by far not new to anyone, there seems to be a lack of practical advice on how to actually go about the alignment and how to apply that. Now, in my presentation, I will try to present a model of alignment that we have been using in our work and offer some examples of how it has been employed. Now, I'm going to talk about alignment by design, as I said, and how on this project we worked with different stakeholders, internal and external, to address and include their principles, their needs and wants to finally successfully deliver a course that was fundamentally informed by the comprehensive learning system. Now, we used scoring criteria of the examination as the standards, since the focus of the preparation course was a high stakes exam. So in this course, for writing and speaking, sorry, we treated the IELTS scoring criteria as the standards. However, as the students were taking IELTS for a specific purpose, we looked closer than that. The learners were taking IELTS because they wanted to move to the UK to work as nurses. So their goal was 7 overall, with no score below 7, except for writing, which could be a score of 6.5. So our standards were the band 7 scoring criteria for writing and speaking. Then for the receptive skills, we needed to think about the kinds of reading and listening items that are likely to cause trouble for candidates around band 6 or 7, and then ensure that we addressed the skills being assessed in those kinds of items. Now, these became the standards for the receptive skills. IELTS scoring criteria for writing and speaking, the constructs assessed in IELTS listening and reading to the level that was appropriate for the course, which was band 7. For our online live class materials, which was another important component of the course, we revised IELTS Coach, which is a British Council product that targets IELTS 5.5. So this material was revised to target IELTS 7. Another really important component of the course was PALS, Peer Assisted Learning System, PALS materials. So it was important for us to include social learning for this course. It kind of prepared them for working in the UK. It was economical. So overall, a budget-friendly and impactful way of including more learning. And the tasks were designed to link explicitly to the standards and to consolidate learning from the online live class sessions. Then we have the online materials, self-access online materials. So British Council owns Road to IELTS, and we extracted and curated appropriate materials from that product and linked them directly with the elements of the construct that we were working on each week. We also had weekly homework tasks. Either IELTS writing or speaking tasks were given every week, and there was a lot of focus on writing. Next, we had feedback sheets, and these were designed to link all teacher feedback on homework tasks explicitly to the standards, and to make sure that all the elements of the construct assessed were taken into account in the teacher feedback. When giving feedback on IELTS writing, it's really easy to not mention cohesion or grammatical range or register if you are just marking up spelling or grammar errors. Then the final assessment, IELTS. So that definitely linked to all other elements of the course, of course. And we also had something called Extensive Reading Club. And this was introduced after piloting the course. And there was more leverage given to social learning as we included personal stories from course participants about reading, personal reading recommendations from tutors and students, and lots of icebreaker questions about reading during online classes. So this Extensive Reading Club, or ERC as we call it, included access to lots of IELTS academic-like texts and explicit instructions on how to use those texts to practice the constructs assessed in IELTS reading, again, at the appropriate level. So reading for detail, reading for gist, skimming, and scanning. Now, I must say that this project of alignment by design was not completely without its own challenges. The context and purpose of the intervention meant that there were certain needs and expectations, I have to say, principles and beliefs that needed to be addressed throughout. And there were various stakeholders who needed to be educated and I would say managed as the project progressed. Learner expectations, for example, or we had to consider what the learners believed IELTS preparation should be, factoring in past experience, their education system, what were their learning goals and were they realistic? What were their expectations about the amount of time they would need to invest in language learning? We had to consider teacher training. We needed to first make sure that our trainers understood the standards really, really well. So we ran really explicit training on IELTS writing and speaking scoring criteria, both to demystify and to build confidence and understanding, and training on the assessment of listening and reading in the IELTS test. Going beyond the item types and into the construct of the assessment was addressed. And there was a tendency at the start of the training for the teachers to be very focused on accuracy alone in the productive skills. So our first goal was to expand their understanding of text, both spoken and written, so we could then help them understand the broader elements of the construct beyond grammatical felicity. Our client expectations were extremely high as well. And it was really important that we educated them throughout the process of piloting and revising the course. And this was challenging at times, but we did come to a shared understanding of the nature of language proficiency improvement by the end of the program. I also should mention learner work and family pressures that played a huge role. It was really important to listen to our learners as we developed this course. And as I mentioned, that they were all nurses. And this course was run in India right in the middle of the pandemic. We were continually overwhelmed by the participants' commitment to the course when we knew they were facing extraordinary circumstances at work every day. And in addition to work pressures, many of our participants had caring duties as they were caring for children and elderly relatives as well. Now, I should also add that we delivered all these components following a flipped method, where learners came to class having completed a set of tasks. On the slide, you can see Bloom's taxonomy, which is a model that classifies educational learning objectives into levels of complexity. The skills that are easier or lower order thinking skills, like remembering, let's say, or understanding, are on top. And as we move down, we have the higher order skills. If you think about it, a learner will need more support with the higher order skills, like when they are trying to make and defend a judgment based on evidence or some external criteria, or when they try to analyze an idea by breaking it down to simpler parts. That's where they need the trainer the most. However, what we see in a traditional classroom is that the bulk of the precious time with the trainer is spent on knowledge and comprehension. And then in our approach, as the name suggests, we just flip it. Now, to wrap up, I would say that we truly believe that the success of such large-scale projects with complex ideas and complex components and design lies in the approach of planning and design. We ensured that all the components of the program tied in cohesively with each other, and that there was a seamless flow between them. We also ensured that there was a robust M&E plan, and we right away when we started planning for the program, an M&E plan was also planned out or designed simultaneously. I was put into place to ensure that there was regular monitoring of the learner progress, quality checks happening in and outside the classroom. We ensured that there was enough reporting of all the surveys that were being run amongst learners and stakeholders as well. There was regular information on attendance, assignment submission, task completion, engagement shared with the client during project board meetings. And we ensure that we followed up each course with a focus group discussion with all the learners. And that really gave us explicit information on how the learners truly felt about the course and their specific problems. And we took those into consideration, made changes for newer batches. We now hear that several learners on the project are currently employed with the NHS in the UK, and that makes this entire project super successful and the entire team very, very happy. Finally, one more reason that this course was so successful was that the standards the course aligned to were 100% linked to the learner's immediate learning goals, as they represented a gateway to their future life goals. And this cannot be underestimated in the context of the course, but should also be considered in the context of all other educational interventions, we believe. And we have to ask ourselves, is it clear how the assessment, the standards, the curriculum, the delivery are aligned with the learner's future goals? Are they aligned at all? And that question will help you design something that is effective and useful for your learners. One last thing before we wrap up is something that worked in our favor is the fact that we worked together between teams. The fact that the British Council has a sea of resources and expertise and that yields unparalleled results when they work in collaboration. And that has been our biggest success for this project. And that's all from me today on this particular topic. Thank you all for being here. I hope you enjoyed this talk. Wish you all a great day. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat box and I'll be more than happy to answer.
Hi, really thank you for your presentation. It was really useful, to be honest. Even now I'm in Vietnam, but I still can catch your idea and also can see the general situation in India. So we have the first question from our audience. Joanna, did you have any feedback from the learners about the experience of working in a flipped classroom?
Thank you so much for that question, Johanna. Yes, we did have some feedback from learners on the experience of working in a flipped classroom. I would say that initially there was resistance from the learners. This methodology is new to a lot of Indian learners, and they expect to be lectured in class and then given homework. And the fact that we flipped this entire model was new to a lot. So there was a lot of learner training that happened throughout the program, but it didn't take them very long to get used to it, I have to say. Initially, they would expect the teacher to be in class, but soon they would understand that, okay, this is a new methodology.
Thank you. We also have some of the flipped classroom in Vietnam as well. So I believe that it's going to be the trend in the future. So I really hope that we can develop it so far. And also we have the next one. Have you got any difficulties while implementing the flipped classroom?
Yes, yeah. Did you say, did we face any problems implementing the flipped classroom?
Yeah.
Yes, lots of challenges. And these challenges that I mentioned did not only come from learners. All stakeholders can sometimes be slightly hesitant to try out a new methodology. So that definitely did happen. There was lots of convincing needed initially when we started with this methodology within the team as well, that this works. And it was difficult to link the tasks and everything that they were doing online as a self-access element to what they would do in the online class. So keeping track of that and making sure that the trainers are constantly reminding learners of the other part of the other components of the course was tricky, sometimes challenging. So a lot of signposting was happening in the classroom in order to remind learners that this doesn't exist in isolation. All of the components that you're doing are linked to a bigger standard. So reminding everybody and training everybody to understand this model was challenging.
Thank you so much. And also we have the next one. What was the biggest challenge in the course delivery, do you think?
I would say there was lots of circumstantial challenges. I have to address that. We were doing this right in the middle of the heart of the pandemic, and learner motivation was challenged at many times. In fact, the entire team's motivation was affected. There was one time when everybody was overwhelmed by what was happening around us. And the fact that these learners were all nurses didn't really help the situation. So there was lots of pressure, and motivating learners to attend classes, complete their tasks, and follow what was on the syllabus was hard at times. And we had to be empathetic to the learners, empathetic towards each other, and still keep our eye on the objectives and the outcomes of the program, because it all led to something really fruitful and positive at the end.
Yeah, I see. Thank you. And also we have the next one. What tips do you have for ensuring the participant continue to engage with the program, especially when they have like so many work and life pressures?
I think one has to consider these while designing a program itself. So if I know that my learners are working professionals who work 10 hours a day and they have caring duties at home, then I cannot expect them as a course designer or a trainer for them to spend 5 hours a day on some sort of a learning program. It doesn't work. So there's a flaw in my planning. So I'll either have to offer them a longer program, or split those tasks up so that they have more flexibility on choosing the time when they want to do those tasks. So it all starts with careful planning, I think. So surveys, even before you have started thinking of what components to put in, think about what your learners' circumstances are. Are they working professionals? If they are, how long do they work for? How much time can they give to a course? Once you have that data, you have ample data, you then start designing your course accordingly. If it takes longer, it takes longer, but you want to keep it comfortable enough for your learners to have their motivation levels high. If it gets too much, then chances are that their motivation levels are going to fall as well.
Thank you. So actually from myself, I really appreciate the hard work of you and also the Indian team. We also have the next one from our audience. How did you incorporate coach project evaluation with the linguistic components to determine the success level of the training?
Oh, that's a very interesting academic question that I'll probably have to read up a little bit or go back to my notes a little bit and then answer. But I'm making a note of that. So I can send it back to you and thinking about all the planning that we did and all the reading that I did, and then write you an answer. Would that be nice?
Yeah, I think it should be okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So also the next one, have you got any like advice for our teachers for the current situation with the courses and also in the future?
Could you say that again, please, Huan?
Have you got any advice, like tips for our teachers?
Or for our teachers?
Yeah, teachers.
Like general tips for teachers. Okay, I mean, do what you're doing and continue to engage with your learners, I suppose. I think it's really important for trainers in today's world to really try and connect with the learners. And that I think is the most fundamental and core steps towards a successful relationship with your learners. So just try and understand their needs, their learning needs, and that should dictate everything that you do in class. And right from your planning, your delivery, everything depends on what your learners need. So try and understand that through conversations, through surveys, through yeah.
Thank you so much for that. So that's all. Those are all the questions from our audience. I really hope that our audience enjoyed the session so far and have more information for this one. Before logging out or moving to the next session, please help us to do the survey by clicking the button on the right side and leave us any feedback or any question, like even you don't have for now, but maybe in the future, just reach us and ask some question. We are glad to hear from you guys. So thank you so much for delivering the presentation today. And I wish you all health and luck in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you and bye guys.